Hey there, it's time for the show, the Tatiana Show, where you make friends and talk life and crypto. This episode of the Tatiana Show has been brought to you by eToro.com. You can trade in a wide range of assets, connect with the crypto community, and automatically copy top-performing portfolios at eToro.com. Quite simply, they have the top currencies, smart tools, low fees, social trading, all in one simple app. They facilitate over $1 trillion in trading volume per year globally. eToro makes powerful trading tools easy. Get started in minutes right now at eToro.com. That's eToro.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of the Tatiana Show brought to you from the Miami Bitcoin Conference. I'm here with Brian Zisk. We ran into each other. We've worked together on a number of different music-y kind of tech things over the years, but I don't know if we've ever had you on the podcast. So I'm really happy that you're here today.
I am thrilled to be here, both in Miami at the Bitcoin Conference and with you.
Excellent. So for people who are not familiar with your work, give me a little background about what it is that you've done and how that crosses over into the Bitcoin space.
Well, I've been doing digital currency since the 1990s, and everyone says, bullshit! And I say, go to transaction.net, where we tell you how to create your own digital currencies, and the last post was probably about 1997. So I run the Future of Money and Technology Summit, which has brought all the folks around both traditional and digital currencies together since about 2010. I run the SF MusicTech Summit, which we have in places like San Francisco and New York, as well as New Orleans. But I'm also a seed investor and advisor to Chia Net, which is Bram Cohen's new eco-friendly cryptocurrency, which basically uses existing resources on the net instead of it being a resource race. I'm a founder of CryptoTax.ai. If you need any, need to do your crypto taxes, code CryptoTax, you get a year for free. And I'm now also with 6x7 Networks, which is, as far as we know, the world's only encrypted telecom carrier. So for a competitive price with all the other incumbents, you can have end-to-end encryption and folks can't snoop and understand your packets. We also can get you 100 gigabits. So I don't know anyone else who has a network like we do, and we're here to encrypt the world.
How's the service on that? Does that mean the NSA can't listen?
That's between the NSA and the NSA, but yes, I mean, technically, there are ways they may be able to get around it more on your computer, but yes, the packet's passed encrypted and they cannot tap it in the middle.
Okay, and where's that company based, and how much traction have they gotten? Do they have a lot of users yet, and how did that work out?
So we're out of San Francisco. We have 30 pops across the country. We can basically do it in any city. We're just starting out. It's existed for about a year and a half, and the stuff we are now placing is amazing, but it's still pretty nascent. I came across Ben Cannon, the founder, who's absolutely brilliant, when we at Chia bought a line from him, which is, I think it's a 10 gigabit line, and it's spectacular, and he's clearly brilliant. And I dug deeper, and I was like, why doesn't everybody know about this? And he's very much, well, I'm the brilliant guy who hides in my cave and actually lives in one of the NOCs. And I said, well, if your biggest problem is communicating with people, that's what I'm here for. And let's take it to, I'm in Miami a lot now, in New Orleans, and let's build out the best networks across the country. So it's very interesting because, we're not an AT&T. We're not a Verizon, but our connectivity is to customers, to commercial customers, is actually better than theirs because they don't offer the speeds that we do.
So let me ask you how that works, because usually when you're traveling abroad, let's say I have T-Mobile and I go abroad or something like that, I'm using other kinds of towers. So you guys obviously don't have the tower network that Verizon or Sprint or whatever has. So what do you guys do? Do you license that out, or how does that work?
Well, I mean, we have a bunch of our own fiber, but we also license fiber for other people and do transit over other people's networks. So the reality is, we may be sending your packets over Verizon's network, but if Verizon's only offering 1 gigabit to the consumer, to the commercial consumer on the end, on the end, we don't have that limit. They're like, why would anyone want more than 1 gig in some cities? And we're like, there are plenty of reasons. And if you don't know why, we're just going to do it. And it's really interesting because I was talking to Ben, and I'm like, well, we have this advantage that we're encrypted. Won't Verizon do that eventually? And won't AT&T do that eventually? And he says, well, probably not for a while. And when they do, we win. Because the aim is to build this privacy network. If you don't care about it, if you don't care about the encryption, it doesn't even matter. You get the same performance for a similar price, but much more personal attention. But if you do want it encrypted, we're the only ones.
And I didn't even mean to make this a sale for this company, but I'm just curious. So can I sign up for services right now? And what does it cost for a month?
This varies, but this varies. I think in most commercial centers, you could get 100 gigs for, I believe, about $15,000.
What does that mean, though? I don't want to spend $15,000 on my cell phone service, so I'm just an average person.
This is for companies. So this is if you're like a crypto exchange, or you're a bank, or you're a hotel. If you don't want that much, if you only want 1 gig, I think it'd probably be about $2,500 a month. Varies, could be more, could be less, depending on the build out and stuff. But the point is that for those who do need it, there are really no other options. And for those who are looking for the best connection they can get at the fastest speed, I send people speed tests that people just blows their mind. So if you're looking for the very best and you would like it to be encrypted, as of now, there's no other options. Moving forwards, we'll have a lot more options. But as of now, if you want the best, and this wasn't supposed to be a sales thing either, but you're asking the questions, and I'm truly amazed at what Ben and team have been able to build out, which is why I've joined it.
So what about pushback from the government? Right now, they're harassing, I think, Apple because they want more backdoors. This has been an ongoing problem. We have Big Brother snooping in our underwear drawers. What does that legal fight look like? Are you guys concerned about that? And do you think that there's enough people that support privacy these days? Because some people say, I don't have anything to hide.
Well, this is a very difficult subject to talk to. And the reality is that a lot of times they'd much rather intercept your communications without talking with anybody. There are other things that I honestly don't even know about, but if you go read about Brewster Kahle of the Internet Archive and his fight over a security letter he got, he's one of the few people who's actually able to talk about it. Now, I have no knowledge that we've ever had run-ins with the government agencies. As far as I know, we don't, but I'm not the one who they would have called. So there are things the government can do. Nothing is 100% secure, but if you can prevent people from tapping it without your knowledge, that's a really good start.
Right. Yeah, I think that the conversation needs to keep going, and we'll see how it evolves. But it's definitely a big concern for me.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about what you have going on in New Orleans, because that sounds really fun.
Sure. Well, I'm spending a lot more time in New Orleans because it's one of the most wonderful cities ever. So in addition to spending a lot of time there in Miami to wire up the whole city, I throw music and technology events. So New Orleans has pretty much asked us to come down there and bring a lot of music technology folks, bring the music industry, because as we all know, New Orleans is the best place for music in the country. It's truly incredible. And however, it's basically New York, Nashville, LA, a little bit of Atlanta, and the industry isn't there. And if we could bring the industry there, that would just, that would be so helpful for the musicians. And because Jazz Fest is one of the most amazing events, there's about 700 bands, 600 from the Louisiana area, we are aiming to put it on April 29th, right between the weekends of Jazz Fest. We hope we would have had this confirmed by now and I could be announcing it, but hopefully within the next week or so, we'll be able to.
That's great. I would love to go to that. So let me ask you, you've been delving into music and tech for a while, and here we are at a Bitcoin blockchain conference.
Sure.
And yet I would say that I haven't really been so impressed. I mean, look, I have token.fm. I like what we're doing. But for the most part, I'm not really like too blown away by any of the music blockchain companies.
Right.
What have you seen on that front? And what have you seen in terms of the reaction of the music industry itself, which actually stands to have some of its power taken away through some of these innovations?
Well, that's a very interesting question because there are a lot of different ways to approach it. So I had a failed company probably about 7 years ago now called No Black Box. And what I believed was chain of title tracking, like is needed to properly pay artists, is exactly the same as the chain of title tracking that happens with coins. So it made so much sense to build this. And we had the Copyright Office asking us to build it unofficially and all sorts of stuff. And in the end, it failed. A, because the Bitcoin blockchain was really pretty nascent, and B, due to founder issues, which is usually what happens. One of the neat things is you can once you put money into the system, it can flow through and pay everybody immediately. There's not a black box where a company in the middle decides that they're gonna kind of, intercept the money or not pay or pay this or pay that. So there's the chain of title tracking, which I find incredibly interesting. Then on the other side, there's the whole coins for compensation. And that's still much more nascent. Chun was trying it. I mean, you've got Toon Token, which I'm involved in, which is an amazing organization, but definitely has a long way to go. I haven't seen anyone where I'm like, right now, this is what I do. Yes, I'd make it so people can pay or donate in crypto and Bitcoin or whatever, and there are relatively easy ways to do it. I love how Shalita Burke points out, you could do this advanced stuff, you could do this middle stuff, or you could basically get a Shopify account and connect it to Coinbase, and with no knowledge, you can basically be taking these coins. I think there's so much here, but as of now, almost the most interesting thing is the fact that a lot of these folks who have done really well in crypto are the sort of ones who want to support artists, so tap into that. Now, one thing that flew under the radar, and I don't really know what it means, but it could or could not have significance, is there's this new law around music licensing in the United States. And there's the American Music Licensing Collective, which has been set up to collect and distribute funds. And they went, and when they announced who's going to be building the back-end database, who was it? Was it Oracle? It's Consensus. Oh, is Consensus building projects that are non-crypto? Or is this a blockchain-based project? I haven't found out yet, but I will. And just like so much stuff with crypto, we may not be there quite yet, but it's coming quickly. So if the music industry leaders have started to see, we really should be on this, because as it takes off moving forward, it might really be a fabulous thing. So not much has happened. I mean, you have your song. I hope you've gotten some, but it's sort of like when we did internet radio in 1999. It was fabulous, but we get up to 200 users. 10 years later, when Pandora would get up to millions of users, that's a real business. But it's folks like us. It's those of us who are really trying things that may or may not work, who are blazing the way, who you have to pay attention to, because we really don't know where it's going to go, but it's definitely going somewhere.
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking forward to Token.fm this year. So we're just down in the Bahamas because I have an upcoming event called Crypto Cares. And the objective is to get the crypto community to show that they care, work with different charities. And I have family in Eleuthera. And we did a music event down there too. So we also did a behind the music kind of making of the band thing while we were there. So hopefully I'll get to tell the story of that. Because I think that people, especially in the creative space, have a hard time connecting the reason why with the technology. I mean, I was personally very averse to technology, hated finance. So I think that if you can give them a little bit of a storyline with it, maybe it can bring people further along the journey.
Sure.
Are you guys having a blockchain track at your event? What's your plan for that? Because you've done that before, I think.
We may not, because it's a smaller venue, but we will definitely be covering it. I don't know that we'll have a full track, but it's something that's so inherent to what we do that we'll definitely have the leaders in the space. You're invited, of course, and let's figure out, how to integrate it. Right now, it's more about the business that will help the musicians. And what we've learned is that in New Orleans, they're not the most tech savvy. So even getting them to put up a QR code so they can accept donations is really. But yes, we will definitely be covering it because it's one of the most interesting things, and it's where we all live.
Yeah, it was really, I find putting the QR code to not be that encouraging for artists. I don't even tell them to do it because think about it. 5 people in your city probably have Bitcoin. So the chances that they're going to donate or anything, I think, is a little bit low. And I hate to set the wrong expectations because then artists are like, well, where's all my Bitcoin donations? But, one Bitcoin donation could mean quite a lot if you don't cash it out right away. So there's also that.
Yes.
Are there any speakers or any kind of specific highlights from New Orleans that you want to talk about yet, or is it still in the works? We've got a few months.
Yeah, well, I haven't announced the show yet, so it's hard to say. But we do have the General Counsel for Music of Facebook who says she's coming. We've got Zach O'Malley Greenberg. I mean, it's going to be great. But what it is, first we got to confirm it, and then we'll book everyone quickly.
That's awesome. So is there anything else that you're excited about in 2020 that you wanted to talk about at all?
Well, 2 quick things to mention on my projects. Well, CryptoTax.ai, Fred Steinman is joining the team.
Love Fred.
So we're very excited about that. And Chia Net is doing phenomenally well. We launched our alpha testnet, which includes Chia Lisp, the new scripting language for crypto, which is going to be pretty incredible. So the fact that that's going is great. I think the most exciting thing are these sort of the adoption, and the fact that more and more people are using it, and the on-ramps are going to become easier and better, as long as Visa doesn't crush Plaid's ability to let, people put fiat into crypto. I do think it's really a matter of adoption. And while we have it where, 1% of the people hold crypto, it's something. But when 15% do, it's going to be much more. And I think it's interesting because I really like this sort of shakeout we're having because there were so many, people taking money without the ability to execute on it. And building coins around that does not build confidence. But as we go more back to the core, it's funny. I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I think that you have your fixed supply, increased demand. People want to get their money out of Venezuela or China or India. I think that's only going to grow it. You have a couple others like Ethereum. You have ones like Chia. But really, the vast majority that exist and raised a bunch of money, I believe, are destined to fail. And now here's where I have the cognitive dissonance in my mind, because I'm truly a Bitcoin maximalist. I believe in very few. Yet, I also believe in 20 years, there are going to be billions of currencies. And people are like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, what were to happen if all of a sudden your airline miles were fully tradable with no fees and you could just pay for stuff with them? Would that be a cryptocurrency? Yeah, it pretty much would be. And would all of a sudden everyone have 20? Yes. So I think there are a lot of use cases that as the use cases get developed and we're just now starting to see them, this is where I think we're going to have another crypto bloom.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about 2020. I think we've got a lot of good things coming up. Are you doing any talking or anything at this conference? Are you just mingling?
I'm mostly just mingling. Now Miami's my home city, technically, although I'm on the road all the time. I wanted to see what it was. I'm a little surprised. Okay, God, here's where I get myself in trouble. Is this supposed to be like the largest conference, the largest Bitcoin this is smaller than the little ones we were throwing in San Francisco. So I'm a little surprised lately at the lack of traffic and innovation at a lot of these conferences. I think a lot of it is folks, if they have something innovative, they're not coming to North America. They're not coming to the U.S. And I think I'm a little bit concerned just that, and I don't know if it's important that there's innovation or just that the core technologies really get fleshed out. So what was the question? No, I'm not speaking on a panel here, but I'm definitely speaking with everyone, full stop.
That sounds good. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit slower this year than last year. Whereas the Latin American Bitcoin Conference was booming. It was really, really big because I think it's in Latin America. Malta, while I don't know how legit some of those projects are or not, but man, that place was totally full. So unfortunately, I think the U.S. is kind of at a disadvantage globally, and that's what I've been seeing lately. Maybe we'll see a little bit of a shift. But I don't know. I mean, it's weird the direction that things are going overall here.
With or without reason, people have faith in the U.S. dollar. And so people here don't go, I need to diversify into this ephemeral thing I don't quite understand. The reality is, in some of these South American countries, I mean, some of the top folks, Mickey Malka, Wences, come from South America. And in their lifetime, they've seen their currency devalued 4 times. And they're like, if I had been holding an internationally pegged currency, I wouldn't have lost that money. So it's much more understandable in all of these places where people don't have faith in the federal currency. So I'm not surprised that the U.S. isn't doing it. I mean, it was interesting to see how they came down on Libra. Libra was an amazing project. You peg it to all of these currencies, and you have a more stable crypto than any federal currency. That was going to change everything. So the U.S. government didn't know how to handle it and pretty much stomped it.
It's a big threat for them. That's what made it. At first, I was very anti-Libra, but then I started thinking about it, especially guided by the conversation on Let's Talk Bitcoin, that basically, you know, Libra could do the dirty work for us. Who else is going to go up against those big bad boys? Let me ask you what you think of central bank issued currencies. So I was just in the Bahamas, and I haven't had a chance to explore the project yet. But they have a sand dollar, so it's issued by the central bank there. Mm-hmm. To me, that's kind of lame because the central banks are the ones that got us into this problem in the first place. On the other hand, with some of these smaller countries, they need to be able to compete, and having that blockchain edge may allow them to collectively bargain and just become a stronger entity to fight against larger banks, which sometimes block them out from participation. What do you think about those kinds of currencies?
Well, I don't know specific details about this one. The reality is that I believe it's good if people issue more currencies or back currencies or you know, the real problem with why there's not the adoption in the U.S., besides the taxable transaction issue, is that U.S. dollars are acceptable by the tax authorities. Bitcoin is not. If you have a federal cryptocurrency and you can pay your taxes in it, that's amazing, because then, you know, you can always spend it. So to some extent, I'm in favor of it. The thing to be most careful about, and it's something that, say, a small Caribbean country or Malta could do that is, you know, might go otherwise in the U.S. If they issue some sort of federal cryptocurrency and then say, but you're not allowed to use these other ones, horrible. If they just issue it and are willing to accept it for taxes, I don't think it's a bad thing. Because what happens is that, you know how money is created. It's basically the
out of thin air.
Central bank issues 10, and then people have to repay 11, and then it's gone. And then one person loses. And we need more currencies of abundance. And the reality is that if there's a country that doesn't want to just flood the market with its currency, you say they issue it and it all heads out of the country. So they don't want to flood it to devalue their currency, but you have your locals who aren't able to do exchanges because there's a shortage of traditional federal currency. If they can issue cryptocurrency, they can even issue it and sort of do a basic income and spread it among their people. And then people have the ability to do commerce because there's not a shortage, or despite the shortage of the federal currencies, it could, you know, this is along the lines of what Bernard Lietaer, you know, who's unfortunately passed, who wrote the book The Future of Money, was the Belgian central banker. What he was really pushing for is that communities can create their own currencies, and that's better than if a federal group creates the currencies. But if the federal group creates it and issues it in a way which encourages commerce as opposed to holding, it could be an okay thing, but similar to all these other projects, there'll probably be 40 countries that try it and 1 to 3 that get it right.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't trust the government with money anymore. They've already kind of proven that they're not very trustworthy. And then you look at countries that are highly restrictive. Like in the U.S., we're kind of like powder puff people, even though we're spied on all the time. You look at a country like China, I mean, That's really like 1984, big time. And to imagine them having control of currency and not allowing other people to get onboarded, I'm just surprised at people's joy that they take in these kind of central bank currencies being created. I'm very, very skeptical. But, there is some legitimacy that's granted to the industry through that kind of an effort.
Especially if they make it easy to trade other cryptos into this and the rate floats. We need more of that. We need anything where banking systems and federal governments or whatever stop fighting it and say it's acceptable. If you could trade Bitcoin for this federal cryptocurrency, you have another on-ramp, and I think it's good. I get exactly what you're saying about skepticism about, federally issued currencies. So we all have to be very careful and vet the projects and know, like anything, they could go horribly wrong.
But we don't have a choice if they go horribly wrong. That's the thing. Like any kind of government enforced thing, okay, you could vote and in 4 years, maybe something will change. It's very slow moving kind of stuff. And when they take control of money, which is, to me, that's what I found so excited about Bitcoin when I was in the music industry, because, there's no way to take away the power peacefully. I used to stand around with a stupid sign saying, end the wars, nobody cares.
Right.
So when you do something like this, you can actually peacefully withdraw. I don't really think that governments are really in the business of giving back the power to the people,
Correct.
But they may become completely obliterated if they don't get along. Because then it's just like, okay, well, you're just forcing us into a corner where we're going to innovate more. Mm-hmm. So it should be an interesting 2020s, plural. This next 10 years is going to really show how the world turns out.
Absolutely. And I think what we're dealing with is, 50 years ago, it was very hard to communicate with people around the world. Now with the internet, you absolutely can. So just like the communication systems were split, the money systems are split. And I think we are evolving, not because the governments want it, but because the people want it and the technology has risen that, with Bitcoin, we do have, an international currency now. And so I get what you're saying about the issues around federally issued cryptocurrencies, but no matter what happens with them, it doesn't hurt Bitcoin.
Right.
It could potentially help it, but it definitely won't hurt it. So while I get what you're saying, I think that anything which provides more legitimate on and off ramps into the crypto system is at least has some good elements.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they could do the training of the people to learn how to use crypto, and we could just offload that onto them. Now, I have a hard time talking about economics and like these kind of financial system discussions with music industry people. What have you found over the past few years? If you've gone into the Bitcoin rabbit hole, do you think that people are responsive to that? Do they get it? Or do most, because I don't know, like sometimes I think musician protest is misguided because of a lack of understanding of the financial system. So it's been really exciting to see that evolution through crypto. Mm-hmm. What have you noticed in your experience with people in the music industry? Are they kind of catching on that the financial system's screwed up, and do they get it?
Well, everyone in the music industry knows the royalty payment system is broken. This is very similar to when we did our internet radio station. It was the same time as Napster. We were free music, no ads, blah, blah, blah. So they were like, thief. We're like, wait, we have all our songwriter publisher deals. We have the statutory license. We're buying, to broadcast, we're buying $500,000 worth of CDs a year. We're paying you for streaming your radio, which never happened in terrestrial radio. If you can't tell the difference between thief and best customer, it's not going to work out well. And a lot of the younger ones at the labels were like, oh my God, Napster, Greenwich, this is amazing. Just like a lot of the younger ones at the record labels get it. The older folks don't. They're like, tulips or whatever they want to say. There's nothing backing it. Well, what's backing the dollar? The ability to pay taxes. Okay, we had this conversation.
Oh, yeah, tell me about it.
So my belief is that it's just a matter of time. And we're like 3 years into a 20-year process. And in 20 years, the transactions may not happen automatically on the blockchain if the traditional copyright aggregators who own the Led Zeppelin tracks, who everyone's always going to want, say, we want the ability to manipulate the results, and thus we are not going to a transparent blockchain, but at the same time, You have folks like Jamcard, which is in LA and trying to take the power of the music industry back for musicians. We're the only, institutional investor in them, but it's incredible what they're doing. And at some point, it would make sense if it's all artist driven for there to be full transparency. Now, I will give the caveat that I have had people tell me, oh, well, we don't want people to know that we are, that you could just look up that I am getting a cut of this Beyonce song, because then people will know I'm getting millions of dollars and they'll come kidnap my kids. And there's some truth to that, but I don't know how much, because right now you can still go to the Copyright Office and see who the songwriters are. But it's a real legitimate concern that has to be overcome. I think as this becomes more and more, through society and inevitable, and, at first it was like kids were transferring money with Venmo, and, Andrew Cortina and those who built it are way ahead of the game. But at the same time, it's still centralized, and it can be blocked, and your money can be taken by the centralized authority. And traditionally, as people don't trust anarchy and trust the government, I don't know who those folks are, but there were some, those are resisted. But as it becomes more and more understanding that we're a fully interconnected world, and, tools, not rules, and technology can beat law, I think that we will be heading in this path, and it's just a matter of time. But it really is a matter of generations. I mean, it's like I saw this amazing MLNK speech. I think it was in front of Y Combinator, and about how to create the future. And I was like, yes, I was cheering the whole way. It was like, look 20 to 30 years out to what's clearly going to happen. Clearly, 20, 30 years out, cryptocurrencies are going to be ubiquitous. And start working on it now.
I like that. All right, a little motivational speech for 2020. Where can people connect with you and find out more about your projects?
Well, you could go to brianzisk.com or search for Brian Zisk on the internet and just email me. Brian Zisk at Gmail, Brian at Future of Money, anywhere. I'm all over. Just say hi.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on the Tatiana Show.
Thrilled to finally do this. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. Awesome.
What's the point of all this technology without a little love in our lives? Our hosts, Tatiana Moroz, Dr. Stephanie Murphy, and Lauren Kasovitz, have come together to bring you Proof of Love. Go to proofoflovecast.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special segment of the Tatiana Show. I am here in the Miami Bitcoin Conference, a staple of the crypto community for many years now, here in Miami in January. And I'm here with first-time attendee, but always funny comedian, Mike Salvi. Hey, Mike, how you been?
Hey, Tatiana. I've been good. Can I just say that you're not at the Miami Bitcoin Conference. This is all 50 states. This is North American Bitcoin Conference in Miami.
The North American continent is comprised of more than just states. It is also Canada and Mexico.
What's wrong with me?
How dare you?
Yeah. The Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico.
Do they even count? Come on now. No, I'm sorry. That actually sounds like a mean joke. I don't mean it.
Should we start over?
No. We're not starting over. We're just making fun of other places.
That's right.
So tell me, what are you doing down here? Because I think you were coming here to do comedy, and then it was kind of a big fat question mark.
Yeah, and then it was a big fat didn't do it. I came down here to do to be a closing stand-up comedian at an event Wednesday night that kind of tanked, and it just fell apart before it even really happened. So we made the smarter, wiser decision to just be principled and not bother with it.
Okay, that's fine.
And instead, I utilized my time by swimming in a pool in Miami.
That's good. Was it warm?
So, it wasn't as warm as the hot tub that I was in 10 minutes before I got in the pool. But
no one wants to hear these stories, dude.
Well, I was chilly, so I got back.
Why are you trying to make northern people feel bad?
I'm from the north. It's January and I'm wearing a t-shirt.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. So what do you think of the Miami Bitcoin Conference? Have you met any cool people yet? Like, what have you been doing while you're here?
I've been at the North American Bitcoin Conference in Miami, not the Miami Bitcoin.
We've already done this bit.
I know. It's been really cool just to see everybody again and to meet people that I haven't met yet.
So you're hanging here with the Crypto Shit Show crew, though, right? So like, what has happened with that? Because it seems like that's evolving a little bit. You've been doing a lot more comedy.
Yes.
So what's happening with the comedy crypto shit show stuff?
Nathan and I started this thing called the Crypto Shit Show. That was our first, let's just slap a conference together in Baltimore than Philly. But we took a more mature approach and said, let's stop calling it the Crypto Shit Show. We renamed it Integrity. And then we took it to a bunch of different cities across the country. And just from there, we made our statement through 2018. That was what we did. And then 2019 I just went back to the grind of hitting comedy clubs left and right. Okay. Obviously still in Bitcoin and still in whatever. It's not like I was like, I'm going to get rid of all my cryptocurrency. But so I just focused my life back on comedy clubs and that sort of thing. Here I am now this year putting it all back together. So I'm down here meeting everybody else and networking and letting everybody know, if you have 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half hour, an hour, whatever you need time filled, I can tell jokes, and I have an army of comics I can bring with me. So
yeah, you're also a very good MC. We had a really fun time. For those of you that missed the episode, me and Mike have talked about this a little bit before with the Crypto Stars event that we did during Consensus in May in New York. So I thought that was really fun to work on together. What do you have coming up in 2020?
In 2020, locally in Philly, myself and the rest of my team, Haha for Hire, are running 2 monthly shows, and then we run a weekly open mic, and each one of us have our own different projects. The queen of Haha for Hire, Shay Sasa, is out there. She's in different sketches, and she's doing just different gigs. She has her own FM radio station, not just a podcast. She's on the radio every week. So we're all just doing different projects and putting it all together. And in Philly, if you want to see a comedy show, look up the Mike Salvi or look up Haha for Hire, and if you could spend Bitcoin, you can come see us for Bitcoin. You could see us for money, whatever.
Do you only do jokes about crypto?
Yep. Yeah. So most of the crowd isn't laughing except for the 3 people that no. My life I've been in Bitcoin since 2012. So my jokes are about my life. Bitcoin's a part of my life. Cryptocurrency is a part of my life. So I tell Bitcoin jokes to non-crypto people, and they still get it.
Okay.
So, and vice versa. And the crypto people are tired of they want to hear jokes about Spider-Man also. They watch, The Walking Dead, so they want to hear goofy stuff too. I'd say they're different race of people. They're the aliens. Us. It's just,
Well, the crowd is growing. So, in finalization of this interview, can you tell people where they can connect with you, specifically online?
On the internet, yes. And you can go to the Mike Salvi at every social media platform. Follow me on the Cash App. Follow me on Venmo, the Mike Salvi, and Haha for Hire. We're out there everywhere. Just look up crypto comedy.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Awesome.
It was a pleasure. I love it on the...
Hey there, it's time for the show, the Tatiana Show, where you make friends and talk life and crypto. We gotta think and reflect and use lots of intellect with our hearts when we work together. I know that it can be so hard out there, looking all around and saying that life ain't fair. So that is why we will fight and stay up late at night, listening to the Tatiana Show. Thank you for listening to The Tatiana Show. Please follow us on Twitter at Queen Tatiana or on Facebook and Instagram at Tatiana Moroz Music. More episodes can be found at thetatianashow.com, and make sure you leave a review on iTunes and tell your friends. The Tatiana Show has been brought to you by CryptoMediaHub.com, a boutique marketing and PR agency for Bitcoin and beyond.